You should be buzzing with questions after those three very energetic and information-focused presentations. This is kind of where the rubber meets the road as far as practices, practicality, and positioning and marketing. So get to the microphones and we'll see what we can do. So I've got a bunch of questions. So tell them about your packaging foray. One thing that packaging and data, tell them more about your farmer philosophy and how you vet some of these things. You got the cheese and you mentioned about how, yeah, okay, so what kind of packaging can we come up with? And then the data, now I believe you. Those are wonderful pictures. Now prove it to me. And the data collection to justify some of these programs. Let them have it.
Well, I don't know if all of it's data, but for a long time we had absence claims on dairy, right? We're non this, non that, non this, free of this, dolphin free, everything. And as a dairy farmer, it was frustrating because we produce. As I told people, we're not selling cigarettes here, right? We have a great product. Why aren't we talking about family farms, Wisconsin cheese, animal friendly, all the stuff we're doing, climate friendly, all the things that we're doing, and use that as a marketing tool instead of turning the product over to a marketing agency that says, hey, we're going to outdo the next fear tactic. And so we've actually held fast to some customers that wanted to kind of go that route, and we said, no, not for us. We'll help you with what you could say, but certain things we're not buying into.
Tell them about your packaging. You're investigating that packaging idea. One extra step.
Yeah, and exactly. The packaging. We need to find something better than just continuing to making plastic and putting food in it. And how many times have any of us used something that comes in a plastic clamshell or whatever, and you do it, and then you take it and you go, dang it, that's a lot of waste for that. So we're looking into just the whole industry is looking into some packaging that would be either biodegradable or just improvements along the line, and some of what John was talking about. Just think what that would do if you could use some of your own
dairy product
to make packaging. That'd just be awesome.
So, yep. Oh, thank God, Sam. I was going to say.
So, I think any of you could answer this question, but and Wade, you talked specifically about it, third-party verification. And Mark, from a practicality standpoint, and Jamie, is that happening with Farmers for Sustainable Food? Who decides, right, that your practices have value and determine what that value is?
I could go first. Are you a banker?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember you. I was in lending for 26 years. I've been doing this for 10. I remember you. So validation, yeah, we have a third-party validator. There's a lot of validators out there in the world. We've always stayed away from the animal welfare ones, but we're not going to be able to stay away from the carbon ones, and that's probably good. I said that when I started out that the carbon is the international currency of the future, and my evidence for that is when I sit in these meetings and I hear about the carbon accounting rules, right, that are being decided and written and it just reminds me of GAAP, generally accepted accounting principles. There's tons of rules and regulations and things that are being established on how to track carbon and what is allowed and what is not allowed. And so in order to have validity, we have a couple of things. We work with universities like this so that we have real science, but we also have to work with these folks in the carbon industry that give the stamp of approval. That is a carbon credit, or that is a carbon inset, and here is what you can do with it. Because if I'm going to share or sell those with international customers, our attorneys want to make doggone sure that we're not selling fish oil, or that's not the right term, snake oil, right?
Yeah, snake oil. Jamie, what about you with the partnerships that are out there? I mean, I see that the collaboration and all that, but ultimately, are partners stepping up, ready to put the money down on the products produced?
Yeah, so when it comes to how do we prove it, farmers are already doing the great things that we're wanting them to do, and it's how do we share that story, right? How do we show that they're actually doing it? And collecting that data is sharing that story. That is that third party for us that is doing that measuring of what the farmers are already doing. And when we gather that data, that gives us an opportunity for farmers to maybe tweak what they're already doing, maybe see some areas of improvement. And that gives them just more information on what they can do in the next few years to continue to improve what they're already doing.
I'm going back to you because this was a theme at Dairy Strong last week. Data, data, data. And then I talked to the farm business managers that say, I don't have enough people to do this. You brought it up when we did our kind of run through. You are a dairy farmer, not a data collector. And although craves may be like rabbits out there, you don't have enough staff to have that kind of data collection.
Well, that's exactly right, Pam. And this is where the two people next to me are providing a service, right? To do that. That's where our milk co-ops or support agencies need to come in and help us with those resources because it is a lot. It's cumbersome. We collect a lot of data. We weigh every truck over the scales, even off our own fields. We weigh every truck. We have all kinds of information, and it was even still a lot for this first round with FSF, working with an engineering firm that we had to kind of say, we can only give you so much time. So that's the big challenge is people's eyes roll back in their head. And, Organic Valley, not speaking for you, but you already have the organic certification that your farmers are somewhat have their mind around that, hey, this is what I have to do to participate in this.
Can I ask you something, Sam? Do you guys have this conversation about in the future, will this kind of verification be a part of operating plans for the dairies that you want to work with? Yeah, didn't mean to put you on the spot, but I love putting you on the spot. Yes, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. This question is for Wade. A lot of your presentation was focused on the farm, which is awesome. And I'm very much interested do you have a counterpart that has a presentation like you gave on the processing side that can go to the level of what they're doing on the climate smart, on the bio-based products, on the co-products and things like that that is equally prioritizing those types of innovations moving forward?
No, I do not. The sustainability department 3 years ago moved into my department because we knew we needed to focus on the farms, and I work on the farm side. Like I said, we're a virtual company in that we have about 98 people that we contract to make product and package product and ship product for us, and we have 3 plants that do it that we own. So we don't have 90% of our impact is on the farms, and so that's why we're focused on that area. We're a little light on that other type of thing. And packaging is a tremendous challenge. I do know that.
That's why I asked.
Is the demand from your vendors outstripping your ability to provide for them? The E story, the carbon story, the possibility for that credit.
Yeah.
Is their demand now outstripping your ability to provide?
Oh yeah, for sure. We did a pilot program last year on the farm. None of those insets have been validated to make them marketable. And when we went to the USDA to ask for that grant, we gathered a few of our international customers who pledged millions of dollars to buy insets, and now they're saying, I put that in my budget. Now, when am I going to get to buy them? And we've said, well, we modeled $15, and now we're paying $20. And of course, my goal is to push that carbon value higher because that's what I do.
When you map it out, how much time do you map that out? How much time? They've already put the request in, they're already putting the money up front. How do you map out your time before delivery?
Well, we have a goal to make 13,000 metric tons of insets a year for the next 5 years. Now, if we get a lot of farmer uptake and we get a lot of customers wanting to pump money into it, we could go faster than that, but that's what we projected with the grant. And so we'll have insets available in approximately a year that have been validated. And did that answer your question?
Kind of. What's the percentage of active farmers that have signed on? 100%, 80% that are already ready to game on?
Yeah. So we feel like we're going to need to do at least 1,200 projects over the next 5 years. Last year with our pilot program, we just did 24 projects, just to learn. And that's what pilots are for, to learn. And we're hoping to sign up 200-300 this spring. We haven't gotten the grant money released to us yet, so we're not doing active signups. We're promoting it amongst our farmers. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think we're going to have any trouble finding farmers wanting to do things, because all of our approaches are nature-based. If you recall what you saw up there, they're all things that our farmers have enjoyed doing over the years and would want to do more of. And if they can be paid to do more of it, they'll want to do it. And I do not believe we'll have any shortage of companies looking to buy those insets either, because they have more aggressive goals than we do. So,
Questions? Because I can keep going. I can keep going.
I just wanted to highlight something that Mark said, where you said we don't want this to become another buzzword, right? We don't want climate smart or carbon or whatever to become a buzzword. So how do we go about talking to farmers to get them ahead of the curve of what's coming for them, and not have them think that this is the latest buzzword and this really is going to come down from them, and they should take advantage now of the incentive payments that they have and the assistance that they have to adopt these practices and really get ahead of the ball.
Yeah. Well, we should actually get you out to talk to the farmers, because you said it. We need to show that as an opportunity for farmers to recapture some of the investment, some of maybe what they've already been doing. There's a limit to capitalizing what you've been doing, though, because you have to show a difference, right? If I've been using cover crops for 15 years, that's not new. I can't get credit for that anymore, right? So that's a reward of,
Right? Yeah, you got to go out 5 years before you come back in.
You got to quit. You got to have a few sins before you go to confession. Right, but we have to show this as a positive, maybe to increase our earnings. We also need support of people like these two to come in and say, hey, we'll help you get there, and there's a prescription, and there's a way we can model this to certain things. Oftentimes I get asked about our digester because it's kind of, a little more space agey, right? There's a lot of practices that any farm can do long before they invest in a digester, right? Some of the things that cover crops, some of the things with enteric methane, for me, is kind of an intriguing thing. How are we going to feed our cows where we can reduce the amount of methane that they belch out? And for me, I think there's probably an efficiency thing there. I think some of what they burp out could be coming out their teats in the form of milk, right? So there's a lot of things out there that we can do. We just have to start sharing that information and being not just throw the whole thing in their lap, because that's where farmers are busy, they're short of time. It's the next thing, and we just have to say, hey, how about a cover crop? Oh yeah, I do that. How about this? How about that? Oh yeah, we can do that.
Let's be honest, farmers are about the most marketed to group. And I say it is, and please keep that marketing coming. But I mean, honestly, that is one of the most heavily marketed groups. If you stop and think about how the fact that farm is operated to a large extent by an individual, and they are hit up in all facets on all levels. So I think cutting through with the right message, like he said, show me in practical terms, not connected to a product name or a program even. I don't think we're to the point where we got confidence in any program. So, but yeah, I'm with you on that. Hey,
it can't be mandated.
Yeah,
farmers are independent. I'm one of them, right? There's a reason I'm not an accountant or in the military, right? I'm an independent guy, and so I'd much rather steer the ship and adapt good practices on what makes good sense for me. And so if I can get support to do that, we'll go a long ways straightforward on it. But we can't have regulations saying you must.
Well, because like you said, they eventually go away if there's incentives.
Right,
You know, the money will be gone and then
right.
we drop it. Hey, what's the average age of your cows?
Oh, I don't have it off the top of my head. It's, you know, it's tough to move that mark. It's like, we get around 3 lactations per cow. So we measure it in months, and I don't have that number right here. But I do know in the last several years, I've been tracking, and we measure this very number. What percent of the herd is first lactation, second, third, and we've moved 4 percentage points. So we've moved 4% fewer first lactation cows down to the older cows. And again, there's just a lot of milk there. And, farmers were always guilty of another heifer calf is always a good thing. So we'll raise her, we'll
Impatience.
freshen her, we'll put her in the pen, and now
She's got to be better.
she's got to be better.
She's
And
gotta
now
be
we've
better.
realized that, hey, that there's a cost to that, and let's make sure we're smart about which ones we keep. But 4 percentage points on the whole herd is
Yeah.
significant.
The pendulum swings.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
when
we're
I was a
seeing it-
kid, the average age of cows was probably 5 north.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Right,
so-
yeah. And then we didn't make some progress on reproduction and
Mhm.
that type of thing. But yeah, we're making progress in so many different areas. And actually, those are cheaper days than what we used to have. We used to get an old cow, and then you'd look at her history and say, "Oh my gosh, she's been through hell and back," to
Yep.
reach this
Yep.
stage. And now it's just the opposite. Now it's like, hey, she's how old is she? Wow.
She's still got feet. Yep.
Yeah.
Feet and legs. Yep. Go ahead. Sorry. It's
No,
not
it's
just our
great. It's
conversation.
fantastic. So I have a friend that we know who said, when asked about water quality, doing changes for water quality, he said, "What you're asking me to do is really hard. Like, you're making me change my whole system. What are you doing?" Which was a really pointed question. And I hear all of us like, "Oh, let's do this and let's do that, and it'll be so easy." But we're talking about massive systemic change across an industry that is very slow to change for very good reasons, very conservative by nature. So with that as the primer, what can we do to make it less hard on you as a farmer and you guys with your farm cooperatives to actually see systemic change that farmers will accept? I throw this out just as I don't really know much, but a carbon tax or a carbon as a component or something that is an identifier that everybody can now get behind. And what do we need to do to get there?
Remember, they deal with weather.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all I can think of is you can get awfully doggone excited sitting around a kitchen table in January about anything that's green. And then when you got mud up to your hips and now the planting date's off and my manure spreading's off and, I don't know.
Yeah.
Inspire him more. Tell him.
Well, that's a good point, Pam. And even with the cover crops, the more things you try to do and line up, it's like shooting at a target with a BB gun, and if you line them all up, if you think you're going to get a bullseye on all 5 in a row, it's tough. And you're dealing with Mother Nature and all the things that go with it. So the best plans can go awry. And we've had 2 years in a row where the cover crop program had extremely different results. You may not recall, I remember, but you may recall last year on Memorial Day weekend, we had a frost. 2 nights in a row it froze. And we had planted corn in a cover crop, and the cover crop was about this big and had been terminated, and it was brown, but it hadn't fallen over yet. And what we found was exactly opposite of what you would think. I thought, hey, that'll be good, that'll be insulated. It was just the opposite. The headlands we had tilled because we had been in and out and tire tracks and everything. The headlands didn't freeze because there was black dirt there that radiated up overnight. The cover crop held that cold air down in there for long enough to kill the plant. And it didn't kill it. We left it and it popped up, but of course it missed those times. So it can always be different. And so that's the hard part to your question about convincing farmers to do this. You only get 1 chance a year to grow a crop. And so those are some good things to do. But that's where some of the things you can do with maybe your cattle herd or some feed ingredients or some, I'd be happy to have somebody pay me to feed all the byproducts from the human food chain. How's that sound? That'd be great, right?
Well, and to your point, your question about how do you get farmers' attentions, remember, you only get to swing once. And that's the other hard part. If you sell them on the idea and the concept, but you get skunked by weather, ooh, it's hard to get them back. Oh, God.
Long memory.
Oh, as a farm broadcaster, they got to remember everything. So,
I would just add that you know, farmers are business people and they're very pragmatic. And our general approach is they like to talk to other farmers and they want to see what's worked for other farmers. So you find
Yep.
your innovators, right? You find your early adopters. And to that earlier point about buzzwords, for every buzzword you can point to, you can probably point to two things that did stick. And the early adopters are the ones that got the most benefit from those technologies before everyone else caught up and made it table stakes. And then the other thing is, you know, in our co-op, we have a brand as well. You talked about a brand. So anything we do affects our brand, and animal welfare was not a buzzword. It's a huge topic for us. It's a huge topic and concern for our customers. And so those things continue, but then, you know, what's the next thing? Okay, you've got certain things that you're looking better on. How are you leading, right? So we go to our farmers and we're using satellites to improve their grazing, right? We're trying to renaturalize the animal welfare industry and get it away from the third-party sharks that want to charge a lot of money, right? And now we want to lead in climate. So our farmers get behind that because they know that they have a lot of equity in a brand. And so anything that makes that brand a leader, they're open to.
Well, yep, Jamie?
So between our 7 farmer-led groups, our focus is water quality and soil health. But within those farmer groups, those memberships, there's also like an incentive program for farmers to try a conservation practice on their land, and stacking those practices, no-till, cover crops, low disturbance manure injection, strip tilling, those types of practices, even stacking them on top of each other, shows exponential reductions on that same acres. Another thing that we do is we do annual member conservation practice surveys. So another way that we measure some of that data is all those members within those farmer-led groups measure those practices that they're already doing. So we can show our greenhouse gas reductions and phosphorus reductions and erosion, where how do we communicate that to the community, right? So we relate it to the number of dump trucks of soil that stay on that land, and the amount of algae that's not in that water because it stayed on that land. So those are practices and ways of collecting data that we've found useful to help tell that story for that farmer.
I'm cognizant of the time. I could keep this going all afternoon, but it is 4 o'clock and then some. I believe that means that it's time for the happy hour, or better yet, an opportunity for you to talk one-on-one with some of the experts that remain in the room. I think it's been a fantastically healthy dialogue all day today. I give credit to Paul for the very different group of speakers that he lined up for us from across all campus, across the United States, with Frank considered in. And I hope as you're leaving today, you have something new, a lot of something new to think about on maybe what you came into the room with as far as perceived climate smart agriculture, where you see us going, and maybe the challenges and opportunities that you're going to walk away with. So thank you again to our panelists, all of them that remain in the room. Thank you to Paul and to Jeremy for helping everybody out. That'll do it for me. I'm Pam Yankee. Thank you very much for being a part of the 2023 Ag Outlook Forum.